First at 9 this Saturday, the 8th of March 2025. Legislative guarantees. No arbitrary removal of SVAT sans an efficient refund mechanism, assures the Deputy Minister of Economic Development. Multi-sectoral committee to be set up to deliberate amendments to the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act. The debt deal. Sociologist calls for a moratorium on repaying international sovereign bonds. Urges the immediate need of an international mechanism for the restructuring of loans for debt-ridden nations across the globe. Hanging on hopes. Adani wind power project not cancelled yet, reveals Energy Minister. Says the government will explore more avenues if Adani's response is negative. Solar Industries Association meanwhile urges caution of a plot to reduce the use of solar energy. The Shining Pearl. Sri Lanka welcomes over 500,000 tourists during the first 2 months of 2025.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කන්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත්
අපි පරිස්සම්.
ඉතින් මොකටද නිකන් නාගන්නේ? ස්වදේශී කොහොඹ ලෙමන් ග්‍රාස් අද කාලෙට ෆ්‍රෙෂ්ම විසඳුම.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Dirasinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lanka media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, celebrating a hard-fought battle to ensure gender equality spanning several decades, the world rallied in unison today to celebrate the International Women's Day held today. This year, International Women's Day is celebrated under the theme Accelerate Action, calling for the urgent need to take decisive steps toward achieving gender equality, addressing the slow pace of progress and empowering women and girls worldwide. On the eve of the special day, United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres emphasized that women's rights are being attacked by different forces on the virtual space and that everyone must stand against such attacks.
Every year on the 8th of March, International Women's Day is celebrated across the globe. Women's Day is celebrated to recognize women's achievements, gender equality and reproductive rights, while also acknowledging the violence and abuse perpetrated against women. International Women's Day has its roots firmly embedded in the labor movements of 20th century Europe and North America. The earliest recorded Women's Day event was held on the 28th of February 1909 in the United States, New York City, by the Socialist Party of America. Years later, the world's first International Women's Day was marked on the 19th of March 1911 in several European countries including Austria, Hungary, Denmark, Germany and Switzerland. On the last Sunday of February in 1917, Russian women began a strike for bread and peace in response to the death of over 2 million Russian soldiers in World War I. Opposed by political leaders, the women continued to strike until 4 days later the Russian Tsar was forced to abdicate and the provisional government granted women the right to vote. The date the women's strike commenced was Sunday the 23rd of February on the Julian calendar then in use in Russia. This day on the Gregorian calendar in use elsewhere was the 8th of March. International Women's Day was first observed by the United Nations in 1975. Later in December 1977, the UN officially recognized the day and since then, March 8th has remained the global date for International Women's Day. Off the back of a hard-fought battle to advance women's rights in society, this year's International Women's Day is celebrated across the globe under the theme Accelerate Action. This theme hopes to invigorate decisive steps and action towards gender equality and empowerment of women. Issuing a message today, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya called for the confronting of deep structural inequalities as well as misogynistic ideologies that continue to shape the lives of women in all their diversity, not only in Sri Lanka but all over the world. The Premier further highlighted that women's voices, leadership and agency are essential to overcoming challenges including economic recovery, climate change, digital transformation and democratic challenges and build a resilient future for all. At a United Nations event on the eve of International Women's Day, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres highlighted and warned that the world cannot stand by as progress is reversed.
Every 10 minutes, a woman is killed by her partner or a family member. 612 million women and girls live under the shadow of armed conflict, where their rights are too often considered expendable. Less than 2/3 of women worldwide participate in the labor market, and those who do earn far less than men. At this pace, eradicating extreme poverty for women and girls will take 130 years. And as we see in every corner of the world, from pushback to rollback, women's rights are under attack. Digital tools, while brimming with promise, are also often silencing women's voices, amplifying bias and fueling harassment. Women's bodies have become political battlegrounds. Instead of mainstreaming equal rights, we are witnessing the mainstreaming of chauvinism and misogyny. We cannot stand by as progress is reversed. We must fight back.
Union Assurance.
චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙත් මන අපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Don't waste time. Start your degree with pending A-level results this February with our partner universities. Call ACBT on 0117 699 499.
Less sugar, same great taste. From Melbourne.
Minister of Women and Child Affairs Saroja Savitri Paul Raj stated in Parliament today that the government will appoint a multi-sectoral committee to look into amendments to the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Professor Anil Jayanta Fernando, affirmed that the government will not take steps to abolish the SVAT without the implementation of an effective refund mechanism.
This International Women's Day, I'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to all women who have fought hard for various objectives at various instances in the past few decades. Off the back of such hard-fought battles, today 22 female parliamentarians sit in this house. Today, female politics is more empowered than ever before. We have created female leaders. We see that as a self-evident fact, despite party affiliations.
නායිකාවන් අපි මතු කරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒක පක්ෂපාත කිසිම ભેදයක් නැතුව අපිට ඒක දකින්න තියෙනවා.
ගරු අගමැතිතුමියනි
A female teacher of the Halmila Vidyalaya Ambalipitia was assaulted by a male teacher yesterday. This assault took place while the entire nation celebrates the National Women's Week. The female teacher was attacked right in front of the school's principal. The victim lodged a complaint with the authorities and is now receiving treatment in hospital. What measures will be taken against this issue? I was informed of this incident this morning. We will investigate this matter and take necessary legal action. We will inform the subject ministry to take disciplinary action against the perpetrator as well. The incident discussed earlier transpired because the male teacher was not able to control his temper. 90% of girls experience sexual and verbal harassment when using public transport. The fault here lies not in women or girls. 163 girls under 16 years of age were reported to be pregnant in 2023. This number climbed up to 213 in 2024. Tragically, a 10-year-old girl is among the 213 young girls reported to be pregnant last year. Is this the fault of the girl? Several problems grapple women around the world today. However, the problem isn't actually with women. I have been verbally abused in several occasions within this very house. However, I was never at fault. They made such despicable statements over their lack of civility. If that is how they conduct themselves within this house, that is how they conduct themselves outside as well. Between 50 to 60% of girls do not attend school when they menstruate, since they don't have access to affordable sanitary towels. This is not their fault. This is the fault of lawmakers. I perused documents of the ministry dating back 20 years within these 3 months of service as the Minister of Women and Child Affairs. Upon reading those documents, I have identified that several policies need to be amended and reformed. the government has taken up the responsibility of establishing necessary changes to the scope and policy of women and child affairs.
අපි ආණ්ඩුවක් හැටියට මේ රජය බාරගෙන තියෙනවා කියන එක ඉතාමත්ම සතුටින් දැනුම් දෙන්නේ.
What measures are being taken to ensure a timely and guaranteed VAT refund system before abolishing SVAT?
අපි එකවර අයින් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. දැනටමත් ඒ අදාළ කටයුතු ටික සිද්ධ කරමින් යනවා, සාකච්ඡා කරමින් යනවා, සහ අදාළ ට්‍රේනින් විශේෂයෙන් මේ සඳහා පැති දෙකකින් අපිට වැදගත් වෙනවා. මේ පදනම තියෙන SVAT එක අපි අහෝසි කරන්න. මොකද SVAT සිස්ටම් එකේ තියෙනවා ගැටලු ගණනාවක්. මේක මැනිපුලේෂන් සඳහා යොදා ගැනීම මේකේ ගැටලු, but අනිත් පැත්තෙන් that would lead to the cash flow and the liquidity problem for exporters. So we have taken into consideration all those things. ඒ අනුව අතර මේකේ එක පැත්තක වැදගත් වෙනවා capacity building. ඒකටත් so we have just taken the technical assistance from IMF and other experts and training is being done and technology. So as of now there are certain things to be fixed and incorporated into this technological platform. So as a result we have developed a plan. This plan, detailed plan, will be introduced by the end of June, where with a simulation.
As you are aware, in terms of the General Marriage and Divorce Ordinance, the age of marriage is 18. The Muslim community, as a community, is at consensus that it should be 18. Say, Honourable Minister, I don't think there is any impediment you bring about that reform, unless under exceptional circumstances there should be a proviso. In addition, if you take the Muslim woman's right to sign the marriage certificate or give a consent, we should bring in reform which provides a Muslim woman at the time of marriage should sign the marriage certificate. That's urgent reform which needed, and I don't think you need to wait any longer.
මුස්ලිම් විවාහ සහ දික්කසාද නීතිය සම්බන්ධව කාරණා
We consider the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act as a private legislation. Our efforts are directed at ensuring that children have the right to education. We intend to protect it. I must state that no amendments will be made unilaterally. We will do so after consulting you, the civil societies and religious associations in order to arrive at a good decision. We will appoint a multi-sectoral committee for this purpose.
කමිටි එකක් හදනවා කියන කාරණාව මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්න කැමතියි.
Now, leader of Sarvajana Balaya, Dilith Jayavira, claims that the national revenue can be doubled by empowering women through entrepreneurship. Jayavira made those remarks at a ceremony to celebrate International Women's Day organised by Sarvajana Balaya's Liyabala movement today. A celebration of International Women's Day was organised by the Sarvajana Balaya's Liyabala Women's Movement under the theme A Generation of Women Empowered by an Entrepreneurial Mindset at Udamitta Jayala this morning. The ceremony was held under the patronage of leader of Sarvajana Balaya, parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira. At the event, several female entrepreneurs were provided financial assistance.
සර්වජන බලය වශයෙන් අපි කාන්තා ව්‍යවසායකත්වය ගැන තමයි වැඩිපුරම කතා කරන්නේ.
Sarvajana Balaya mainly advocates for female entrepreneurship. We need an agenda to bolster female entrepreneurship throughout our strata of society. Through the local government pause looming ahead, we will be able to soon secure some power through which we can achieve the same.
ඒ හරහා යම්කිසි ශක්තියක් ගොඩනගා ගැනීමට.
පසුගිය අවුරුදු 3 ඇතුලේ ගෙදර ආදායම 3න් 1කට අඩු වෙලා
household income has fallen to a third, while household expenses have tripled. Notwithstanding those obstacles, you have protected households through entrepreneurship. We reiterate that we can double national income if we actually empower women through the concept of an entrepreneurial state. Microfinance has rendered women helpless. It has to be corrected immediately. We intend to set up Sarvajana committees in each divisional secretariat. We have already laid a foundation to that end and allocated capital for it. To address the harassment of women perpetuated by microfinance, a fund will be set up by these Sarvajana committees. We will seek public assistance to that end as well. In addition, we will also assist you by creating capital to empower rural entrepreneurship. Then we can govern without a government. We only need your support. If you support us, we will grant you capital. Isn't that a good deal?
ඔබගේ දැනහස අපිට දෙන්න අපි ඔබට දෙනවා ප්‍රාග්ධනය. හොඳයිනේ ඩීල් එක.
Sociologist and author Professor Asoka Bandarage is of the view that an international mechanism is necessary for the restructuring of loans for debt-ridden nations across the world, including Sri Lanka. Joining our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indivari Amuatha, Professor Bandarage stresses that Sri Lanka's situation is not unique and advocated for a moratorium on repaying international sovereign bonds, which she described as having short maturity periods and high interest rates. Professor Bandarage further emphasized that the need of having a new international economic order which prioritizes the people and the planet is crucial.
I think that the whole global financial architecture needs to be questioned. And in terms of restructuring loans, there's got to be international mechanisms so that countries like Sri Lanka don't have to go on their own to make these negotiations. But if there's an international framework, that would be, more beneficial to especially the debt-ridden countries in the world. And there are some 54 to 70 countries that are debt-ridden, so Sri Lanka's situation is not unique. And another thing that needs to be taken into account in terms of economic recovery is not to go back to getting ISB, which the IMF deal projects that starting 2027, I believe, that Sri Lanka would go back to getting ISBs, international sovereign bonds. And those have very short maturation periods and very high interest rates. So it would be in order to have a moratorium on obtaining international sovereign bonds, which have caused so much havoc to the Sri Lankan economy because of much of it, the debt is owed to international sovereign bondholders.
Sri Lanka declared default, and then soon last year, sometime in December, Sri Lanka exited the default status. But what do you suggest could have been done different at the time? I
think we have to look at not only changing the global financial architecture, which is really very exploitative vis-a-vis the poorer countries, the debt-ridden countries, but also the larger global economic system, especially the neoliberal order. So when there were problems outside the country, the prices of exports going down, imports going up, the country is then in a foreign exchange crisis, unable to buy its own necessities, and it leads to shortages as well as other social problems. So there's a repetition of this cycle throughout, starting from the colonial period to 2022 and even today. So I think that questioning of the global economic system with its exploitative relations vis-a-vis the poorer countries, needs to be looked at. And this was something that Sri Lanka took leadership during the 60s and 70s in terms of calling for a new international economic order with better terms of trade for the poorer countries. And it's certainly time for a new international economic order which puts the planet and people before profit. And we also have to look at what kind of an economic order do we have in the world today, which is really controlled by a handful of billionaires and a small coterie of finance capital institutions like BlackRock, for example, the largest asset management company in the world. They are also, incidentally, the biggest ISB holder on Sri Lanka. So that's why that there has to be more of an education and awakening on the part of people, not only in Sri Lanka but around the world, about the realities of the integrated globalized economy that we are living within.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයබටිසෝල් සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
කැලණි වයර් කිසි ගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසි ගින්නක් නැහැ. කැලණි Fire Shield Wire.
Malibu chocolate cream, inguru and lemon puff. Less sugar, same great taste. From Malibu.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Now, Minister of Energy Kumara Jayakodi revealed that the wind power project proposed to be implemented with the Adani Group has not been cancelled yet, despite concerns over high costs. Speaking at the Ministerial Consultative Committee on Energy, the minister added that the relevant matter is currently being reconsidered and a response is expected within the span of 2 weeks. The Energy Minister assured that the government will explore more avenues if a negative response is received by the Sri Lankan government.
The inaugural meeting of the Ministerial Consultative Committee on Energy convened on the 6th of March under the patronage of the Minister of Energy, Kumara Jayakodi. During the meeting, the Energy Minister revealed that the wind power project, which was to be carried out with the Adani Group, has not yet been cancelled. When inquired about the relevant project, Minister Jayakodi added that the matter had been referred to the Cabinet for reconsideration since the pricing of the Adani company's power project was considered to be high. He added that at the time, the parent company of Adani had forwarded a letter to the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka informing that they were withdrawing from the project. Following the notice, the Board of Investment had informed the ministry regarding the withdrawal. The minister pointed out that relevant discussions were held with Adani's representatives in Sri Lanka. Consequent to those discussions, the Adani Group's representatives in Sri Lanka have claimed that the company will reconsider the project. Against this backdrop, Minister Jayakodi claims that a response regarding this matter is expected within 2 weeks. The minister further revealed that the government is open to exploring other revenues if Adani's response is negative. Additionally, he said that in the future, such projects will only be carried out through government-to-government agreements and competitive procurement. Meanwhile, the Solar Industries Association claims that the CEB is attempting to minimize the use of renewable and solar energy for daily purposes.
අපිට චෝදනාවක් තියෙනවා මේ පෙබරවාරි 9 වෙනිදා සිදුවෙච්ච විදුලි විසඳුවීම මුළු දිවයින පුරා.
It has been alleged that solar power caused the nationwide blackout on the 9th of February. However, as an industry, we strongly refute these allegations. We request the government to appoint an independent committee to further investigate this matter. Allegations put forward by the Ceylon Electricity Board must not be accepted. The CEB knew for several years that this blackout would happen. Now they demand us to switch off solar power plants every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Switching off power when the sun shines the brightest causes them a loss. We can abide by these demands in the short run since this is a national concern. However, at the moment, this seems like an attempt to reduce the use of renewable and solar energy.
සූර්ය බල ශක්තිය අඩු කිරීමේ ඒ වගේ ව්‍යායාමයක් තමයි අපිට මේක පෙනී යන්නේ.
The Department of Registrations of Persons has procured 700,000 polycarbonate cards from Thales for its electronic national identity card project to be implemented this year. Director General of the Department of Registrations of Persons, MSP Surya Peruma, reveals that Sri Lanka still requires 1.6 million more cards in addition to the 700,000 cards procured so far. She has further added that the Sri Lanka Unique Digital ID project will be integrated with the ENIC. The electronic IDs will include biometric features such as fingerprint, iris and face recognition, and will also allow the allocation of unique ID numbers, centralizing various types of IDs and capturing data including birth certificates and tax identification. Recently, an awareness program was held under the patronage of Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne, at the Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka in Colombo to discuss the ENIC process and its operational aspects. With that, here's a look at the latest political thoughts shared regarding the most recent list shared by the Parliament, the upcoming local government elections and the manhunt underway to locate IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone. The NPP released another list yesterday. My name was also mentioned on that list. I have not purchased a house and registered one under my name from the Vyatpura scheme. Have I cost the government a loss? Am I not paying off what I am due? The JVP attacked and destroyed our houses. If we don't release lists like that, they might say that such fraud never took place. Now the people can clearly see the fraud and corruption perpetuated by the previous regimes and their leaders. We promised the people of this country that we will punish all fraudsters and the corrupt. We will definitely do it. The 159 government MPs keep on proving that they lie to the people through their speeches in Parliament. They also seek to assert that they have the right to lie. Therefore, as the opposition, what we must do is to strengthen our political policies and parties. No opposition anywhere else in the world is as hopeless as ours. The opportunity to further establish their hopelessness will come during this local government election. The opposition will be obliterated in the polls. If you have a conversation with a tuk driver who previously voted for the NPP, you are guaranteed to realize that those who voted for the NPP in the past have abandoned the NPP now. The situation has changed drastically over the past past few weeks. I don't think the NPP will be able to secure half the votes they secured during the parliamentary polls. We have a good team. We will be conducting interviews in Colombo and Gampaha today and tomorrow. Even if you come tomorrow, we will be able to give you a chance.
Yes, I will run this time as well. We manifested change in Parliament and we believe that we have to also change the rotten local government system. I believe that the people will provide us the opportunity to do that.
To secure power in the Colombo district, talented personalities akin to that of Karu Jayasurias will compete this year. We have no competition with the Samagi Jana Balavegya. The National People's Power will obtain the most successful victory in the local government polls. He and his family are still in hiding. Through his actions, it is clear that what he did was illegal. He will not be able to stay hidden for long. He must come forward and stand trial. There will be no special treatment for him when we enforce the law. We believe that we will be able to arrest him in the near future. At that point in time, I was on my way to cast my ballot in the Bar Association election. I served in court for 26 years. I cannot be elated when such a devastating incident happened within the court complex. I was shocked. People don't always remain happy when they are shocked. Welcome back. Now in your business news, the target to achieve 3 million tourist arrivals for this year. Sri Lanka has welcomed 530,746 tourists from the 1st of January till the 5th of March 2025. According to the latest statistics from Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, 37,768 tourist arrivals were recorded between the 1st and the 5th of March this year. The highest number of tourist arrivals were recorded on the 2nd of March, with 8,375 tourists visiting the island. The Russian Federation has claimed the top spot of source markets with 5,768 tourists visiting the country, while India remained second with a record of 5,373 Indian tourists visiting Sri Lanka between the 1st and 5th of March. A significant number of tourists were also reported from the United Kingdom, Germany, France and China. In other business news, the Indian budget airline Indigo has announced recently the launch of its daily direct flights between Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu and Jaffna in Sri Lanka, which will commence on the 30th of January this year, rather 30th of March this year. The latest route targets to meet growing travel demand and boost economic and cultural exchange between the two regions. Indigo is recognized as the first airline to offer daily flights between the two regions. The Tiruchirappalli to Jaffna daily flight will depart at 1:25 p.m. with a scheduled arrival at 2:25 p.m. The Jaffna to Tiruchirappalli daily flight, meanwhile, will take off at 3:10 p.m. with a scheduled arrival at 4:10 p.m. The Indian airline claims to be committed in providing its customers with unparalleled accessibility, affordability and convenience, with over 60 weekly flights to Sri Lanka from 5 cities in India, including Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Mumbai and Tiruchirappalli. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.